Buenas and half a day to our listeners on Guam and in the CNMI. It's now time for Total Health right here on Joy FM Radio, where your questions get answered by health professionals. If you have any health-related questions, we would love to hear from you. Call your questions and comments in at 472-1111 or text or WhatsApp 686-9999. If you're in the CNMI, please call 323-1113. Welcome everybody to Total Health.
Well, hello everyone. Here I am again. I was away for 3-4 weeks. I went to Paradise and now I'm back. Paradise is west side of Papua New Guinea, and it's an amazing place to be. You know, just alone with God and the fish and the coral reefs and everything that can offer. And I can only imagine what the Lord has in store for us. You know, if we persevere, we keep on walking that path, God has amazing things that He can restore us with. Well, Scott, hello. I'm excited to be here back. How are you?
Yes, Elena, thank you for coming back, and we are doing pretty okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very excited to see you, and today we are continuing with our 13 Weeks to Hope. Previous years, we have done 13 Weeks to Peace program, 13 Weeks to Joy, 13 Weeks to Love, and this year we're talking about hope. And I believe, Scott, that hope is extremely important nowadays. If you take away the hope from us, it's just becoming very, very difficult to survive. It is essential for our survival.
Yes, it is. I agree.
And today we will continue with the topic because I have a very special story to share. As we are planning to issue a book that it's like a program, 13 Weeks to Hope, one of our stories come from a dear psychotherapist that she shared a testimony from her own patient. Actually, the patient wrote that story, and I believe many of you can relate to that. We are talking about hopelessness, about difficult challenges, about times when really life put you to the end, like you really reach the rock bottom and it does not seem that there is a way out. So when I'm talking about hope, hope is not something abstract out there that you're either born with it or you don't have it. Hope is something that can be taught. Nowadays, hope is considered a part of a scientific research. There are more than 2,000 researches, articles done on hope. It's a way, there are several ways that we can measure it. And actually, hope, it can be taught in school, can be taught, like we can teach somebody to calculate. We can actually teach them to have hope in life.
Nice. I like that. You know what? I would like the kids to learn about hope.
Right, because have you seen children that have hope, that they know that the parents will take care of them, or that good things are ahead of them, they're looking forward to a holiday? They react different than kids that were told, you can't do that, you can't go there, there is no way, we have no money, it's just very hard. You see a different behavior between kids that have hope and kids don't have hope, even adults that have hope and adults that don't have hope.
Yes.
And you can see that even in the hospital beds. You can see patients being diagnosed with cancer that have no hope. And you can see patients that are diagnosed with cancer, but they still have hope.
Mm-hmm.
And so hope is not something that, it comes naturally. It's something we can acquire it. It's something we can work on and something certainly we can develop. I read so many quotes on health as I'm researching more and more this topic. And, one of them says that hope has two beautiful daughters. One is called anger, and the other one is called courage.
Uh-huh.
Right. When you go to hope, it's not like, oh, I'm just positive today. I have this positive vibe. No, you go through a hard time, and then because of this hard time, you develop this courage. Anger at the way things are, and courage to see that they do not have to remain as they are. we are going beyond. And hope stands for actually making the impossible things possible.
Yes, I believe that too.
And you know, if we limit ourselves and we say, well, I believe so and so is going to happen, and we don't work towards anything more, maybe nothing more will happen. But if you say, you know, there is a God that does not know any failure. And even right now, my situation looks hopeless and helpless. Maybe the Lord of the impossible can make it and can restore it and can make something more beautiful that I have ever imagined.
Yes, he can.
He can. He can. And that's why I kind of want to instill a little bit more hope, like this divine hope. And if more of us, and all of us have it, we will rarely think about, you know, those negative thoughts, those, you know, negative self-talk to ourselves, or even thoughts of harming ourselves or others. I'm very inspired by, you know, a measurement tool. It's called the Back Inventory Scale on Hopelessness, in which we can actually see what questions we ask our patients about it. I don't know about you, Scott, but I have gone through difficult time in my life, and times that I couldn't understand God's plan for my life. And we will see in the special story that the patient of psychotherapist, her name is Marianne, was going through. We will see how much pain she had to endure in order to get to a place of complete hopefulness. So the Beck Hopelessness Scale has 20 questions, and maybe you can share if you want to. I'm going to ask some questions because, you know, you can be my assistant now. And see how many of those questions you actually might say, wow, I'm not there yet. You don't have to answer, but you can kind of think for yourself.
Okay.
So first question is, I look forward to the future with hope and enthusiasm. You can say for yourself, this is true or this is false. And every one of our listeners can do it for themselves. Do you look towards the future with hope and enthusiasm? Yes or no? There was a time in my life I did not look, you know, with hope and enthusiasm. Actually, I was seeing only darkness around me. So today I can answer, yes, I do see it. But there were times I have to acknowledge I did not. Then 2, I might as well give up because I can't make things better for myself. Do you think that's true? Do you think that's false? You know, if you get to a point that you say, like, I'm at the verge of giving up. I don't seem that whatever I'm doing, it's working. I better give up. That kind of shows first sign of hopelessness. Then when things are going badly, I'm held by knowing that they can't stay that way forever. Is that true or false? You know, when we see things that are very good, we're afraid that one day they will stop.
That's right.
But why don't we think that those bad things that we're going through, maybe one day they will stop?
That's true. That's true.
Right. I mean, there is sun, there is a storm, there is a typhoon coming, and after the typhoon, again, we have the beautiful Guam sun coming back. So bad things also have their own end. And we serve a God that he's not cruel. He's not going to torture us year after year, like as many of us think, even though torture never comes from God. You know, that pain will one day end. And people that have gone through the most pain, they will be the happiest people because God can restore. All right, number 4. I can't imagine what my life would be like in 10 years.
Oh.
That's true or false? If you see, like, I can't see my life in 10 years. I'm kind of done. I'm very exhausted. Life doesn't work for me. I better, you know, I shouldn't have been born. If you go into those thoughts, you're kind of reaching this hopelessness scene. And I remember times in my life, Scott, I was saying, I don't want to live. I don't want to continue. I kind of want to take away my life. But then a thought came to my mind, and I believe it was, you know, God's inspired thought. Said, why don't you live 10 more years and see if life it's worth living for? I said, okay, I'm going to give 10 more years. I'm gonna see if it was worth it living or wasn't worth it living. Instead of taking my life and not knowing what would happen in 10 years,
Right.
let's wait. And let's see in 10 years, I'll reevaluate, I'll come back and I'll decide, wow, life was worth it living, or I'll say, wow, it wasn't worth waiting for 10 years. And I did. I lived 10 years, and after 10 years, I reevaluated and I said, nothing really good happened in my life. It wasn't worth it. Then another thought came to my life. Why don't you give me another 10 years? I said, oh, well, how much I'm gonna, procrastinate.
Right.
I said, okay, 10 more years. So after 20 years,
Uh-huh.
I reevaluated. I said, wow, life is so much worth living. If I had given up on the first year, on the 10th year, I would have never known that God can actually restore and change my life story.
Wow.
Many times we think that our life is in our control. We try to manipulate it. We try to do it the best way because we think that God does not know how to orchestrate our life. But the moment we let out of this control and we leave it into God's hands, He knows how to restore us. He knows how to reward us. And if you have ever shed tears of hopelessness, God will give you tears of joy. Well, I have enough time to accomplish the things I most want to do. That's a tricky one.
That is.
True or false?
Right.
I mean, especially when you're a parent, you might want to do many things, but maybe it's not as, as possible.
Or as easy.
As easy,
Right.
But still, we have to leave a space for dream. And in one of our sessions, we'll talk about dream therapy, because dream therapy, seems to be very helpful for us to get out of hopeless situations. In the future, I expect to succeed in what concerns me most. Do you think that's true, or do you think that's false? Do you think you'll succeed, or do you see yourself, as a failure? And even if you do consider yourself that something dreadful is going to happen, you're still not out of reach of restoration and repairment. And God knows how He is a God of success, and He can turn every situation, no matter how dreadful, into something incredibly beautiful and worth living for. My future seems dark to me. True or false? It doesn't look dark to me anymore, but once upon a time it did look very dark to me. Number 8, I expect to get more good things in life than the average person. Well, this is how the scale goes. And, I can't say more than an average person, but I can say I expect good things to happen in my life. I'm sure that a lot of pain is going to happen. I cannot avoid it. A lot of, hardship is going to come my way and challenges. But I believe that more good things are ahead of me.
Positive thinking. I like that.
Positive thinking, but also a realistic thinking. Because sometimes we pump ourselves into a positive thinking. Oh, I'm going to think positively. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do. But we know it doesn't come naturally. You have to work towards that. Once in a while, it's good to have a realistic thinking. Yes, this is how it is. I acknowledge my feelings right now, but I think they can become better.
Nice. Amen. I like that.
Right. And then I just don't get the breaks, and there is no reason to believe that I'll have a brighter future. I know people that go through that. It's easy for me and you to talk right now. We are not in pain.
Right.
And when you're in pain, year after year, chronic pain, you might get to a point that you say, I don't see any sense out of that. It is just so dreadful and painful. I want to have some break from it. Well, I know it sounds kind of a dark, but we are moving from darkness to light, and we'll never reach light unless we go through darkness. So stay with us, tuned after the break.
We're going into our first break of the title of the show, Finding Hope in Hopelessness. And how many questions were you thinking about? I know I was thinking about a lot of them. So call in your questions on Guam 671-472-1111 in the CNMI 670-323-1113. You can text and WhatsApp your question to 671-686-9999. You can even Leave your comment in the comments section. We're streaming live on Facebook and listen live online. joyfmradio.net. We'll be right back.
Why?
It's a common misconception that if someone follows after God,
25, 21, and 15 of the alphabet. Add them together and something special happens. You. And you are what we need to make this station a positive force in our community. By financially supporting the work of Joy FM, you help others receive the same encouragement you get from it. You are part of the equation that helps us have a greater impact. Go to our website and learn how
at joyfmradio.net.
in Romania, Valentin Lefter returned from a 2-week vacation to find he had lost his job at a bottling company because he was dead. At least that's what they thought. Because of a computer glitch, the managers believed he was dead, so he was promptly replaced. They were glad to find out he wasn't dead, but they told him that it was too late to get his job back because, after all, he was dead. And according to them, that wasn't their problem. Yeah, that's a bummer to come back from your vacation to find out that you died. That's bound to ruin your day. But seriously, can you imagine being dead and not knowing it? Well, there's more truth to this than what you think. The Bible talks about spiritual life and spiritual death. In our crazy, hectic world, we spend so much time being busy, we don't realize that we can be dead inside and not even know it. But the Bible talks about a spiritual life that Jesus Christ offers to us. And once you become spiritually alive, you'll have a connection to God that you've never experienced before. Can you really tell if your spirit is alive? Read about what Jesus Christ said about this spiritual life in John chapter 3 in the Bible.
From Joy FM.
Si Joe Mossy, and thanks for listening to Total Health on Joy FM. We want to hear from you. Call in with your health-related questions at 472-1111 in Guam or in the CNMI. The number to call is 323-1113. Text or WhatsApp us at 686-9999. And now, back to the show.
Yes, because we were going through the back inventory scale for hopelessness, and we were just checking, on our radar, how hopeful or hopeless we are. And everybody can do that for themselves. So I'll continue, and then I know we have a question from the audience, and I will address that too. So number 10 is, my past experiences have prepared me well for the future. I think the fact that I went through personal pain, somebody will say through so much crap, I'm sorry, my language.
It's okay.
That really prepared me for the future because, and my mom always wanted me to have a hard and difficult life. She never spared me anything, and she never wanted me to have easy life. She built me up well for this life. She told me life is hard, and hey, you have to get down, on your feet and work it hard through it, fight for it. I believe all the pain, all the challenges, they have prepared me well for the future. And I believe it's a good place for me to mention, yesterday we had a very nice seminar at the Agana Heights with Pastor Justin Kim. He was talking about that a fruit tree, in order to produce more fruit, what do you have to do? The King James Bible says, dig and dunk.
Oh, yes.
Which means you have to dig deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And when you shovel it inside, and then you have to twist the shovel so the ground, the soil can really become crumbled down and not be as hard. It's a painful process when God digs down in you and then turn it around, shovel it into you, and then put dung on you.
Oh, yes, dung.
And so who likes going through hardship and, crap and challenges and pain? Right. Nobody likes that.
No.
But the more you go through that, the more fruit you can bear. If I have never gone through that, I wouldn't have understand my patients. I wouldn't have understand anybody that comes for help to me.
Right. And that's what we need to get our attention, what the Lord gives us, to get our attention and say, hey, you, I'm talking to you. This is for you. This is what I need to do to you so you can make it in the future.
I know it doesn't sound nice. When you go through surgery, you're like, this is terrible. But then the result is amazing.
Yes.
And so it's well worth it. So, to have a brighter future, you're going to have a lot of digging, a lot of dunging at this point in
That's
time.
right.
So I don't expect to get what I really want. Okay, so maybe over time we kind of a change about that. Maybe our wants change. Hope is not a wishful thinking. I just wish that I would think positive. It's a way of thinking. And actually, the question from the audience was like, "What is hope?"
Oh.
What is hope?
Yes, that's from WhatsApp.
You can say, "Oh, hope is that believing in yourself, or believing in the future, or believing in good things." Hope is more than that. Hope, actually, science have found it's a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking. It's a philosophy, that you can learn and you can become good at it. It's a systematic way of thinking, constantly seeing brighter and brighter and brighter until that dazzling darkness that you're going through will not prevail.
Nice. That's what we need to look forward for. Hope.
It's
not easy, but
it's not
let's stay
easy.
focused on hope.
Because I've gone through so much pain and I have seen so many joys of the Lord, I believe in hope.
Yes.
And because I believe in hope, I want our audience to learn more about it and study themselves. That's the future. It's going to be a future science even in school, to teach our children on hope and how to believe in their creative power, in the dreams that the Lord has prepared for them, and think big, not kind of closing in our own box and think, "Oh, I can't do anything more. I just have to live in my small village in Guam. I can't get anywhere." You never know. Even with your thought process, you can circle the world.
Right. And is hope always in the future?
Oh yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, hope it must be now.
Ah.
Because the way you think now, it's going to be presented maybe in 10 years. This is what science shows. So it must happen from now.
Oh,
and
from
even
now
if we
on.
don't have it, it's not the end of the world.
Yes.
Because in order for you to have hope, you have to have two things. You have to have your dream, you have to have your goal, but you also have to have the pathways or the ways to get there. Because if I'm like, "Oh, I want to do that," but I never do anything about that, is it a hope?
That's true.
Or if I say, "Oh, I know how to get there, but I am not motivated," will I get there?
That's true.
So in order to achieve hope, to get to that level, we have to have the pathways to get there, and we also have to have the motivation. And many times in our life, we might find ourselves to be lacking one or the other.
That's right.
And there is a way. There is a way. And this is what we're trying to build and, reach to. All right, few more things. When I look ahead to the future, I expect that I will be happier than I am now. Do you think so? Or do you think I might not be as happy? Maybe I'm declining. Maybe I'm at the end of my life. Maybe nothing brighter is waiting for me. Things just don't work out the way I want them to. Well, most of us can get disappointed. And many of us can really see a lot of issues and a lot of things not going our way. But there are things that go our way.
Yes.
And
a lot of things go our way.
Many
right?
things go our way. At the time I was really complaining of life and really struggling, even fighting with the Lord. I decided one day to write, on a sheet of paper, the prayers God has answered and the prayers God hasn't answered.
Oh.
And I kept on writing prayers He has answered, for hours. And then on the unanswered prayers, maybe I put 2 or 3. And of course, I wanted somebody to recover, but they died instead. Or wanted somebody to live longer, but that person was taken away. And only few answers prayers that were not answered. But I know God is not limited. Even the dead, can have a beginning. Even that's why He came and died and resurrected. So even the worst thing that can happen to us is not the end. God is not putting a full stop. It's a comma. And then it will continue.
Yes.
I have great faith in the future. Can you say that? Or you can say, I have some faith.
Oh.
But I can't say I have a great faith, especially when we see what is happening around. Listening to the news can become quite disappointing.
That's what I was going to answer for you.
And you can say, how can you say that the world is going through a better place when it is not. So many diseases, sicknesses, constantly, murders, and terrible things are happening. Well, we have to think that God has prepared a greater place for us. And this earth is not, the end.
Mhm.
And God will restore even that planet. He has
Yes.
that,
Yes, He can.
in His plan. I never get what I want, so it's foolish to want anything.
That's a good question right there, because we don't know it. We don't always think about it. But when we get what we want, do we write it down and say, "That's exactly what I was hoping for," or do we say, "It's not enough"?
Oh.
I wish I had a little bit more.
I learned the answer to that. Over time, I learned that, how can I say, the flesh never satisfies. I want this.
That is so true.
I want this. I want this. I want this. And even if you have the best, I see people that are extremely beautiful after surgery, plastic surgeries, it's still not good enough. The eyebrow is not that good, and the hair is not growing the right way, and they have a wrinkle there. Okay, more injections, more this. And even the more perfect they become, they will still find something that is not good enough. The flesh never satisfies, but the spirit, it does. So when you touch those chords, those wonderful, strings of our soul, that's enough. Even a smile of your child, isn't that enough?
Yes.
Isn't
You
that
always
enough?
want to see a happy child. You always want to see them. When they're frowning and going around, you're going to wonder, hey, what's going on? But when that smile comes up, you're like, oh, yes.
And that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
So things in the spirit, they always satisfy. And of course, you might say, oh, I wish more of that feeling. And it will come. But when you try to invest in, whatever you want in a fleshly way, in materialistic way, we'll never get
We won't.
the full satisfaction. So it's really unlikely that I will get any real satisfaction in the future. I had a time I was thinking like that. Today I know I have gotten a lot of satisfaction, and I believe in a brighter future. Even though there will be many challenges, many catastrophes, many accidents, we will have our painful time. I believe in a great God that can orchestrate life in the best possible way. And He certainly has provided a brighter and greater future for all of us.
Yes, He has.
The future seems vague and uncertain to me. Maybe we feel that way today, but there is hope. I can look forward to more good times than bad times. There was a time I was thinking that only bad things happened to me. And I remember I was dreaming a dream, and then it was so beautiful that I said, oh, this must be a dream. Good things never happened to me. And I woke up. Like, wow, I really think so bad of life. For me not to believe that anything good would happen to me. And you know what? The same dream came true.
Oh, yeah?
Several weeks after. And I realized, well, good things can happen to me too.
Yeah.
There is no use in really trying to get anything I want, because I probably won't get it. Yeah, it is
Yes.
hard, because many times we just shrink our hopes, shrink our ideas, motivation, because we don't think it's going to happen. We don't think that the politics are going to change. We don't think that the government is going to work in a different way. But unless we challenge that, we work towards that, we will never know.
Yes, and that's our music for our break, Elena. How many questions did you answer for yourself? I answered on the air one. I guess I didn't want to talk too much about the other ones. But we would like to hear from you. Give us a call on Guam 671-472-1111 and the CNMI 670-323-1113. You can text and WhatsApp your question in 671-686-9999. We're streaming live on Facebook. Leave your comment or leave your question in the comment section below. We're streaming live online, joyfmradio.net. We'll be right back.
When you learn a new skill, you can teach others while you continue developing that skill. What you learn here can be shared with others while it takes shape in your own life. We love the fact that people can learn about how to live for Jesus when they listen. We love to hear that what you're learning, you're sharing. We don't have to wait for a new semester. There's no class signups. Just listen, grow, share, repeat. Thanks for supporting on-air education. Joy FM, family-friendly radio.
There goes your brain again. Yep, you have a photographic memory. Now, you may not have thought of yourself as having a photographic memory, but let's just put it to the test. Remember the last time somebody turned their car in front of you? Yep, see, right then, the memory just popped up with no problem. How about the time you really got embarrassed at work? Okay, it took a second, but there it is. And how about that picture your brain took of the last time you dropped those dishes? See, it's all there. Let's see how your brain does with these. The Taco Bell Chihuahua, Donald Trump's hair, the Grinch who stole Christmas. Wow, seems like you've got quite an impressive array of photos in that brain of yours. So you do have a photographic memory. That's why the Bible is clear that we should set our hearts on things that are pure, wholesome, and clean. Because even the bad things we see are kept, whether we like it or not. And even though you can be forgiven of things, the Bible never says you'll be able to forget those things. So don't forget, your brain's really one big camera. Be careful where you aim the lens. From family-friendly
Joy FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Total Health on Joy FM. Call in with your health-related questions to 472-1111 in Guam. If you live in the CNMI, we want to hear from you too. Call 323-1113 or text or WhatsApp us at 686-9999. And now, here's more Total Health.
All right. After we kind of self-searched ourselves and we found some areas that we can grow further in hope, let's continue and let's see some hopeless situations, how they have turned into a hopeful, bright future. Now, we got another question from the audience that asked, what's the difference between hope and belief? And it's a wonderful, wonderful question, because you might hope for certain things, but you might not believe. You might just wish for them, but you wouldn't think that they will happen. Or you might believe, but you are not certain it's going to happen.
Yes.
So belief means something you agree. You know, this is my belief. I agree consciously with or the person you trust in or your acceptance in a particular issues. But hope is something you wish to happen, though it's beyond your understanding and prediction. I wish this is happening, but how it's going to happen, I don't know. I wish God gives me peace, but God can only give me peace that surpasses all understanding. Only God knows how to do those things. For me, it can be just beyond my understanding. And this is why faith is so strong and why hope comes so strong. And that's why God says you have to walk by faith, not by sight.
That's right.
Because by sight, I might see it that way, I might agree that way, but it might not happen. But by faith, even though I don't see it, I'm not sure it's going to happen, I ultimately believe that God is good and He's going to make it true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would like to introduce another story to you. Last time we were talking about my friend Stuart. He wrote a chapter in which he was talking how he was, at the top of his career. He had this PhD that he finally graduated with. And when he was dealing with other people, he found himself being so arrogant because nobody can understand him, raised to that level. And he found himself being so arrogant. And he found different ways of really escaping from himself. And he found the true happiness and joy at the feet of Jesus. And one day he prostrated himself and he begged and cried to God until he felt his forgiveness, the full acceptance in Christ. And from now on, from that time, Stuart was living a very happy life.
Nice.
Today, we have a different story, and it is written by Marian. Marian was a patient of a psychotherapist, and both of them, they decided to write a chapter in the book 13 Weeks to Hope, in which she wanted to help other people get hope in hopeless situations. And as I'm reading her stories, and I'll share her stories with you, how more hopeless you can get into it. Many people were born in a nice family. But many people did not have that beginning. And Marian was born in a family that the parents just didn't talk to each other. The mother would not acknowledge the father. And as time was passing by, actually one day the mom decided to leave the home. And Marian was so young, she had to deal with her father, that the father, at that time being a single parent, might not have necessarily knew how to actually provide the best care and education, although he was trying. And so she had also a hard time with her father growing. As she was growing, she realized that home is actually just a place. It's not a place she's looking forward to come home and, where her dreams might take place. And she started hanging out with the wrong crowd. When you're struggling at home, you might find a different place that you might feel a little bit relief from your cares and your pain. And so she started hanging out with the wrong crowd that initially was helping her to forget her painful situation, but then later on this crowd became abusive, started taking her to wrong places, started using different substances, and she kind of reached a hard bottom place. She had such a difficulty just looking around and just finding some sense in everything. She got to a point that she said, what's the point of living? I have never experienced a true love from my parents, and even my friends betray me quite a lot. And she got to a point that she wanted to commit suicide. And she was so vulnerable, volatile in her struggles. She actually was trying to find a place that she can live, and some church members were trying to help, but that didn't work quite well. And she found also quite a lot of judgment, from even church members. Even us, we're human beings, church members or not, we judge others, and if we see that they're struggling, we start questioning if God is really with those people. And if we see them being prosperous, we think that surely the Lord is with them. But it might be the other way around. It might be that, those people that are struggling, the Lord is carrying them in that moment, and He's actually digging and dangling them for something beautiful to happen in the future. And people that might look very prosperous in this moment, it might be preceding something very challenging in their life. You never know. We cannot judge. And that's why it's not up to us to read the thoughts of people. We have to be kind. You never know what process, what stage of your grief and your pain people are walking in. So she finally, her sister saw her struggle, and her sister took her in the home. And she initially, with her brother-in-law, they were very nice. They were like this refugee place that she can really end up and feel loved and cared for. But the brother-in-law, over time, became quite abusive.
Oh.
They was waiting for a moment that the sister will leave for a holiday, for some work-related holiday, and then, he will abuse her.
Wow.
And so she was going from one abuse to another, never experiencing love in her life. And she was thinking that even God is judging her, and that God is not with her because surely the Lord cannot be with her because she's facing so many challenges. And she started believing in this terroristic God that is like out there, looking to punish her. And she was getting more hurt and more hurt and more hurt. She tried, she gave some chances, but then people disappoint her, people from the church, people not from the church. And when the abuse became too strong, she decided to take her life. She said, what's the point of me living? I don't see a bright future. There is nothing ahead of me that is gonna, turn into something brighter. I don't believe I am able to get a good career. I don't believe in a happy family. I don't believe I'll ever create something meaningful. I don't believe I can even hold any good job. All I want is that this pain may stop, and I will be out of this life. I will just be out of it. And then she was going through so much pain, and that's not happening, over a month. It was happening like months and months and months. Her mother actually came back, but she was as abusive.
Oh.
And she never showed that love that the girl really needed. And the girl grew up into a young woman with so much pain. On top of that, all the stress and emotional trauma that she went through make her gain weight. And it's very hard for women. We feel very unattractive, very unappealing, when we are not in that proper weight that the society might, promote. And it really played on her self-esteem. And one day she said, "Wow, I'm going to, take off my life. It's enough. I went through so much." And she started already planning things around. And then she decided to pray. She felt that the Lord is calling her, like, just come here and just talk to me. And she did it in a very reluctant way. When you're at the bottom, you don't feel like, oh, I can do another thing more. You feel like, I want to do one thing less. I don't feel I can do more than what somebody might ask me to do. And she said, I decided to pray in a very reluctant way. She prostrated herself on the ground. She didn't do anything special. She didn't read some book that really all of a sudden enlightened her, even though she started living in the world of the books. And one day she just prostrated herself and she started sobbing and crying to the Lord. In that moment, just in one prayer, she felt so much love. She felt all that love that she was born for, but she never experienced it. She felt it in that moment. Maybe you'll say, okay, maybe that was just a subjective feeling. But that stays with her until today.
Wow.
She said it was just a prayer, this powerful prayer, that God somehow touched the very inside part, of my soul and restored it. And I felt alive again. I felt so much hope just from one prayer. And the belief that the Lord loves her so much, and her future does not needs to stay dark. It can become brighter again.
Yes, it can.
And and she wants to share that story. She said, "Please, I want this story to go around. I want this book to be published because I want to know people that there is hope." And she didn't do anything miraculous. She just prayed down, and she felt that. And Scott, in difficult times in my life, I actually got to a point that I had no hope, but I prayed. And I felt that God was hugging me. You'll say, wow, that's very weird. How can you feel that? It's not written in the Bible. Nobody feels that God can hug them. As I'm reading the stories of great missionaries, in a moment of their circumstances, very difficult challenges, they felt like as if God's presence was right there, hugging them. And I felt that. She felt that. Many, missionaries felt that moment. God is not somewhere out there in heaven, not caring what's going to happen to us. And indeed, He has more love than any human being can give us.
Yes, He does. I believe in that. He's just waiting for you to talk to Him, for you to call Him, and He'll be there.
Sometimes my patients, they say, I just quarrel with the Lord. It's okay. Quarrel with the Lord. But as long as you keep on talking to the Lord, there is hope.
Yes. Yes. That means there's something inside that's telling you all this.
Exactly.
That spirit that you were talking about, the inner spirit. Yeah, I believe. Oh, that's our music again, Elena. Man, I was staying focused, and I know the listeners were staying focused too. We're just going into our last break, so go ahead. Pick up your phone. Give us a call on Guam, 671-472-1111. In the CNMI, 670-323-1113. You can text on WhatsApp your question in 671-686-9999. Or leave your comment in the comment section because we're streaming live on Facebook. You can listen live online, joyfmradio.net. We'll be right back.
was the ultimate survivor. He was thrown in prison. He risked death time and time again. He was repeatedly flogged and beaten with sticks. He had been stoned. 3 times he was shipwrecked and even spent a day and night in the open sea. He was constantly on the move, in danger from rivers, bandits, and enemies. He had experienced hunger, sleep deprivation, and even survived being attacked by wild beasts. Where did he get his strength to endure, to press on to the ultimate prize? He found his power in Jesus Christ. You know this survivor as the Apostle Paul, whose astounding survival stories are found in the Bible in 2 Corinthians chapter 11. He had a mission to reach people with the life-changing message of Jesus. Read about his amazing life and find out more about this message that he was willing to risk his life for. The Apostle Paul, the ultimate survivor. From family-friendly
Joy FM.
And we're back with more Total Health. Give us a call with your medical questions. Number to call in Guam is 472-1111. If you're in the CNMI, the number to call is 323-1113. Or you can text or WhatsApp us at 686-9999. Now back to the program.
Well, this is our last session about hope and how, to reach that hope. This is our second talk about hopefulness or finding healing and hope in our life. Our lives do not have to continue being hopeless. Even if they might be hopeless right now, you might not see any sense in it. You might question God, why my relative needs to have a brain cancer over and over again, why my child needs to go through so much pain. I can assure that was never the intention of the Lord. The Lord he never causes us pain, but he uses the pain to transform us into something greater. He was God himself, and he himself came and suffered so much. Many times we say, if you don't have hope or you don't have faith, then what a Christian are you?
Yeah, some people say that.
Yeah, we become very
Right?
judgmental of that. And when you see somebody depressed, even though you know that they go to church, you say, what's wrong with them? If you believe in God, you have to have hope and faith. Scott, there like more than 7 people I can, think of, depressed people of the Bible.
Yes.
The greatest people that we have ever heard about, they went through depression, their own depression, like Elijah, one of the greatest prophets. He went through depression himself.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he had this great victory on the Carmel Mount, and then next week he was shaking for his life. He said, Lord, please, what's happening here?
And he ran away.
He ran away. He was so scared of the
Hiding.
Queen Jezebel hiding. We have so many, like Peter went through like so much despondency. He was depressed after he betrayed his Lord. He was so depressed. He said, how can I do that? How can I cause something like that? David was like the favorite, king of the Lord of Israel. Everybody loved him. He went through a deep depression. After he did a lot of havoc in his own life, and what happened to his children. He was one of the greatest men ever born. He went through a depression.
Yes.
Moses went through depression several times. And why do we think like if you go through challenging times, the Lord is not with you? The Lord is in those moments, he's carrying you.
And you know what I noticed? All the ones that went through depression, they ran, and they felt this guilt inside. They all wrestled with the Lord. Why this? Why that? And then the Lord's with them. So
absolutely, Jacob.
Oh yes, Jacob too.
I mean, he lost, his child. His 2 children made him like put so much shame to the whole, generation. He was feeling so deprived from the joy that the Lord could have given him, but God rewarded him. God rewarded Moses too.
Yes.
God rewarded Elijah too. Even Jesus on the cross, he was depressed. We don't say that, but he was depressed from everywhere. He had even no clothing. They were, throwing lots to get his own clothes because he had nothing. He was naked there, beaten up. And, when I go through a challenging time, if the whole world is against me, but God is on my side, I can somehow handle it. I know that the Lord is with me, even if the whole world is against me. But Jesus in that moment, he did not know if the Lord is on his side.
He
He
didn't.
didn't.
That's why he cried out, my God, my God.
Why have you left me?
Mm-hmm.
On the cross. He was beaten up. His best friends betrayed him. They left him. They said, no, we are not with him. Then when he looked in heaven, he kind of felt that God is frowning at him because he's carrying all the sin, and God is so holy that he does not want to have anything to do with sin.
Mm-hmm.
And he died with no hope.
Mm-hmm.
He was depressed, but he died with faith.
Yes.
He said, I might never come back to life. That's the end of me. But Lord, I finish. It is finished.
It is finished.
If it's your will, let they live and take my life forever.
Mm-hmm.
But he knew ultimately that the Lord is good, that God is good, and he's going to turn things around. But he didn't have this bright hope right away and saying, yes, things are going to get better. It's like, it's God's will. I'm just a man. I'm dying for the sin of this world. But it's God.
Mm-hmm.
He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. And you know what, Elena? I like what Jesus said when he was there. Lord, I commence my spirit to you. So he did have hope.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I am giving that to you, Lord, and you do whatever you want.
Right.
Not my will be done, but your will be done. Surrender. It is difficult to surrender our life into God, but the sooner we will do it, the more hope we'll discover.
Yes.
I realize every time I try to orchestrate my life the way I want it, it just does not work out. But when I surrender my life in a way that God wants me to live, wow, more amazing things are coming my way.
Yes. And don't you notice that every time when we're in that deep depression and we're coming out, the Holy Spirit's helping us and working with us, just like Jesus at that very last minute when we think everything is just going to end, that hope, that little bit of hope gets you smiling and gets you back up.
Get you back up.
Right.
And we have a few more minutes. I kind of want to read to our listeners some Bible verses. I believe they're very
nice.
comforting.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you are in your hopeless situation, know that in Jeremiah 29:18 it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declared the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." Some Bibles say a bright future.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord has good plans for us. He never intended. Like, you have kids, Scott. Do you
Yes.
plan anything bad for them? You don't.
No.
You plan only good things for them. How can we imagine that the Lord is planning bad things for us? And it is, so hope, science have found that it's like one of the measurement really to show how resilient or how good well-being will be a person socially, psychologically, and mentally. Like how resilient, how well you will stay for the rest of your life if you're hopeful. And they find that hope is really the most important measurement in somebody to determine their well-being.
Oh, wow.
So hope.
Mm-hmm.
This is what, it's not happiness, it's not joy, it's not love, it's hope.
It's hope.
How hopeful you are, it's going to determine, your well-being.
Wow.
And
I never knew
health.
that.
I never
That's
knew that
interesting.
too. And I was very impressed. And that's why, people are studying more and more hope. And we're going to have it very soon
Mm-hmm.
in
Yes.
our schools, teaching
right.
children on hope.
Wow.
Romans 15:13 says, "May the God of hope." What? A God of hope.
The
So we have a
God of
God
hope.
of hope. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope.
Nice.
God wants us to have hope,
Yes,
and to
He
be
does.
more hopeful and more hopeful and more hopeful. And if things are not going the right way, we still have to persevere, say, no, it's going to end up good. No, it's
Mhm.
going to end up good. Even if the worst things are happening, it's going to end up good.
Mhm.
Rejoice in hope, Romans 12:12. Be patient in tribulations. Be constant in prayer. I'm still working on being patient in tribulation and rejoicing in suffering.
And I'm still working on my prayer when everything's going not so good.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because we do fall into the victim syndrome. We say, why me, God? Why it's happening to me? But the Lord is saying, hey, rejoice in hope and be patient in tribulation, no matter what you're going through. God is digging you, dunging you, so you can bring more fruit.
I like that saying, digging you, and dunging you.
Exactly.
That is so nice.
Then we have in Hebrew 11:1, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the convictions of things not seen. We don't go by sight. We go by faith. We go by hope. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. That's my triathlon verse, knowing that no matter how hard it is, we are going to get there. Every time when we say it's not possible, God says everything is possible through me. I'm a failure. God is saying I have a bright future for you. Like, Lord, I can't carry on anymore. The Lord is saying, I'm going to carry you. Every negative thing you're going to say, the Lord has something positive to say.
Yes, He
something
does.
hopeful for you to say. And we're not saying having like empty hopes, because many times our hopes can be dashed. I hope for that, and then it's not happening, and there I'm disappointed. My expectations are not met. I get depressed, and I don't see a way out. God thinks for amazing things that we have ever, imagined or thought of. And I really like that quote that comes from one of my favorite missionaries, Stanley Dale, that says, you have to go courageously, preach enthusiastically, suffer joyfully, serve sacrificially, and die triumphantly.
Nice. I like that. That's a good saying.
Being ready to die even, triumphantly in the Lord with hope. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to His great mercy, He has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. There is, way out, no matter what, even if death takes place, even if someone of our family has been taken away prematurely, there is hope for us. I kind of want to finish with a prayer, Scott.
Nice.
We're learning about hope. We're not there yet. This is our only second week that we're talking about hope. We still have, 11 more weeks to go until we arrive at that place. But I want to inspire this hope in every one of us. Lord, I maintain my hope in you. And I hold on to the assurance that what I am praying for is already accomplished in your name. Your word promises no good things does He withhold from those that walk uprightly. I wait upon you for your definition of the good things you will not withhold from me. As David prayed, I love you, Lord, my strength. My Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock, and in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. The Lord is my hope.
Nice prayer, Elena. Thank you for coming in and telling us about the hopelessness. I know our listeners are blessed. I was blessed. And thank you so much. Join us next week, Wednesday, for more Total Health.
Be sure to check with your doctors before making any sudden life changes discussed today. Total Health is brought to you in partnership with Guam Seventh-day Adventist Clinic, where health is their mission. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Thank you and Sijuas Maasi for listening to Total Health right here on Joy FM.